This is Xinjiang, an autonomous region in the northwest of the People's Republic of China. Officially known as the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, it is home to about 11.5 million Uyghurs out of a total population of over 26 million. Today, the Uyghur people, alongside the Kurds and the Tuareg, are among the largest ethnic groups in the world without their own nation. The Uyghurs are predominantly Sunni Muslims who speak a Turkic language. Their heritage combines both Asian and European ancestry, closely linking them ethnically to other Central Asian peoples. While Uyghurs are a minority compared to the Han Chinese, who make up 92% of China's population, they occupy the vast 1.6 million square kilometers that make up Xinjiang. Centuries of ethnic, cultural, and religious differences have fostered resentment among the Uyghurs toward Chinese authorities. The desire for independence and the hope of one day establishing a state of their own runs deep among the Uyghur people. Yet the Chinese government is determined to prevent this ambition from becoming a reality. So, why is China unwilling to let go of Xinjiang at any cost? And what would happen if Xinjiang were to become an independent nation? In this video, we will explore the complex and fascinating story of Xinjiang. The Uyghur people have inhabited Xinjiang for centuries, originally as part of nomadic communities scattered across the mountains and deserts of Central Asia. In the 8th century, they established a powerful kingdom known as the Uyghur Khaganate, which controlled a vast region stretching from present-day Xinjiang to Mongolia. After the Khaganate fell in the 9th century, the Uyghurs gradually migrated and settled in Xinjiang, where they developed their own culture, religion, and language, heavily influenced by Islamic civilizations and nearby Muslim kingdoms. By the 18th century, the Qing dynasty of China launched military campaigns to conquer and formally annex Xinjiang into its empire. Despite this annexation, the Uyghur people resisted. They staged numerous uprisings against Qing rule in 1816, 1825, 1830, 1847, and 1857. However, each attempt was crushed by the Qing's formidable military force. In 1864, after many failed rebellions, the Uyghurs, alongside other Muslim ethnic groups, achieved a temporary victory and established the Yettishar Emirate. This Muslim state existed briefly before the Qing reclaimed Xinjiang, aided by support from the British and Russian empires. In 1933, amid the internal crises of the Republic of China, the Uyghurs once again declared the establishment of the East Turkestan Islamic Republic in Kashgar. But as before, this independent state lasted less than 2 years before being retaken by Chinese forces. Undeterred by these setbacks, the Uyghurs continued their fight for independence. In 1944, as China's civil war raged on, the Uyghurs succeeded in establishing the East Turkestan Republic once more in Ili, northwest Xinjiang, with Soviet support. This republic lasted until 1949, when the Chinese Red Army entered Xinjiang and integrated the region into the newly founded People's Republic of China. On October 1, 1955, China officially established the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, granting nominal self-governance to the Uyghur people. However, this autonomy remained largely symbolic, with Beijing maintaining strict control over Xinjiang's economic, political, and cultural affairs. In 2013, Xi Jinping took the leadership of China. Soon after assuming power, he declared, "The great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation is the greatest dream of China." For nearly 3,000 years, from the Zhou dynasty onward, Chinese civilization held a leading position globally in terms of development and influence. This standing was lost due to stagnation in the late 18th century, and after 200 years, it is the mission of the Chinese nation to reclaim it. To achieve this vision, Xi ambitiously launched the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. The BRI is built on two main pillars, the Maritime Silk Road and the Overland Silk Road. In this massive project, Xinjiang plays a critical role as China's gateway to the markets of Central Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. Beijing envisions Xinjiang as a regional hub for transportation, trade, culture, and logistics. To become a true global superpower, China sees Xinjiang as indispensable, its role as significant as Tibet's. While Tibet strengthens China's influence in regional water resources, Xinjiang is essential for China's ambitions on a global scale, providing a bridge to extend its influence far beyond Asia. Billions of dollars have been invested in infrastructure in Xinjiang, creating highways and railways that connect China with Europe and beyond. Additionally, China's state-owned enterprises plan to invest in 133 major projects across Xinjiang from 2024 to 2026, totaling nearly $97.55 billion. These investments are directed towards new technologies, emerging markets, and strategic initiatives aimed at transforming Xinjiang into a forward-looking incubator for high-quality production forces and future-oriented industries. Thanks to substantial investment from the Chinese government, Xinjiang's economy has experienced remarkable growth in recent years. By 2022, Xinjiang's GDP reached approximately $263 billion, translating to a per capita GDP of $10,191. However, disparities remain, particularly in southern Xinjiang, where 95% of the population is non-Han and per capita income is only half the regional average. Economic growth has been driven by the discovery of abundant coal, oil, and natural gas reserves, as well as the Western Development Strategy, introduced by the State Council to stimulate economic development in Western China. By 2020, Xinjiang accounted for 45% of the world's polysilicon production, a key material in the solar energy industry. Additionally, Xinjiang's cotton industry, the world's largest cotton exporter, produces 84% of China's cotton, with China itself supplying 26% of global cotton exports. To tighten its economic control over Xinjiang and fulfill its global ambitions, Beijing has implemented extensive assimilation policies aimed at the Uyghurs. Under government backing, increasing numbers of Han Chinese have been encouraged to migrate to Xinjiang, consolidating Beijing's hold and countering concerns over the Soviet presence at the border. The Han population in Xinjiang grew at an average rate of 8.1% per year, increasing from just 5% in 1947 to around 40% by 2000. According to China's 2020 census, Uyghurs make up approximately 45% of Xinjiang's permanent residents. Han Chinese account for about 42%, and Kazakhs, Hui Muslims, and other ethnic groups make up the remainder. However, these figures overlook a significant number of long-term Han residents, temporary migrant workers, and thousands of security personnel stationed in Xinjiang. Urumqi, the capital of Xinjiang, transformed from a city with few Han Chinese before 1949 to one where Uyghurs have been almost entirely displaced. As the Uyghur share of the population declined, restrictions on their language, cultural practices, and religious activities, central to Uyghur identity, have increased. Schools and universities have been increasingly required to use Mandarin instead of Uyghur for instruction. Curriculums focus on patriotic education and ethnic unity, leaving little space for Uyghur culture and history, and Uyghur teachers often face discrimination within this system. Minority groups in China have minimal political power within both the government and the Communist Party. Despite being the majority ethnic group in Xinjiang, Uyghurs have seen their influence over autonomous administrative units eroded over the years. In 2013, 72% of all government recruitment positions in Xinjiang's public agencies were reserved solely for Han Chinese. Beijing has also enforced policies requiring Uyghurs to adopt Mandarin-based names, banning traditional Islamic names that Uyghur parents have passed down for generations, which are integral to Uyghur identity. Religious practices of Muslims in Xinjiang are also subject to broad controls and restrictions. For example, Article 37 of the Regulations on Religious Affairs prohibits minors under 18 from participating in religious activities or entering religious sites. This law has led to bans on teaching Islam to school-age children, with severe penalties imposed on parents who violate these rules. Since 2017, the Chinese government has launched a large-scale People's War on Terror that primarily targets the Uyghur population in Xinjiang. Spearheaded by President Xi Jinping, who reportedly directed state agencies to show absolutely no mercy, this crackdown has led to the detention and imprisonment of approximately 1 million Uyghurs, around or exceeding 10% of Xinjiang's Uyghur population. Leaked government documents suggest the number detained may be even higher, including renowned local scholars, hundreds of thousands of merchants, artisans, doctors, journalists, and students. China is also accused of targeting Islamic religious figures, mosques, and burial sites across the region. Some observers describe these actions as genocidal, while a report by the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights suggests they may constitute crimes against humanity. In 2020, an investigation by the Associated Press revealed that the Chinese government has implemented severe measures to reduce birth rates among Uyghurs and other Muslim minority groups in Xinjiang, even as policies encouraging increased births among the Han majority are actively promoted. Beijing's assimilation policies, coupled with severe human rights abuses, have deepened Xinjiang's resentment toward eastern China. Certain factions within Xinjiang, most notably Uyghur nationalists, advocate for the establishment of an independent state called East Turkestan, similar to the two brief successes in the 20th century we discussed earlier in the video. The Chinese government considers its autonomous regions to be an inseparable part of the People's Republic of China. As such, the East Turkestan independence movement is classified as terrorism, extremism, and separatism. During events such as the Beijing Olympics, attacks including a series of bus bombings were claimed by a group calling itself the Turkestan Islamic Party. In 2009, violent clashes between Uyghurs and Han Chinese left 200 people dead, most of whom were Han. In 2014, a bomb attack at a market and a knife assault at a train station killed 30 people and injured over 200. So are there foreign countries or organizations that support Xinjiang's independence? The answer, of course, is yes. The West is often cited as an example, with China long accusing Western nations of failing to recognize it as a victim of terrorism and extremism in the way they do in other contexts. But what would happen if Xinjiang were to gain independence? The region could quickly transform into an economic void. As mentioned, the Han Chinese dominate Xinjiang's economy, and with this control, Beijing has essentially secured its grip. Urumqi, the capital and economic center of Xinjiang, is 75% Han. If Xinjiang were to gain independence, it would likely trigger a massive exodus of Han residents and their assets. China has spent 3/4 of a century assimilating Xinjiang's culture and invested tens of billions of dollars to make it a vital link in the Overland Silk Road project. Letting go of Xinjiang is not an option Beijing is willing to consider lightly. Xinjiang is a region of strategic significance, not only for China, but also for the broader region and the world. With its rich resources, critical geographical position, and essential role in China's global ambitions, Xinjiang is a territory Beijing cannot afford to lose. The profound cultural, linguistic, and religious differences have created a complex and tense relationship between the Uyghurs and the Chinese authorities. The uprisings, independence efforts, and ongoing resistance reflect the Uyghurs' deep-seated desire for freedom and the preservation of their identity, despite relentless assimilation policies. Yet, China's ambitions for Xinjiang and its firm economic and geopolitical grip make independence an almost impossible prospect. This raises the question of whether stability in this region can be maintained, or if tensions and conflict will continue to shape Xinjiang's future. Thank you for watching the video. Please leave your comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos.